You ever have one of those days where you feel like a pinball, just bouncing from one emotional reaction to the next? It's exhausting, right? Well, today we're diving into something that can change all that. We're going to explore this profound and seriously overlooked power that lives inside a single, simple pause. I'm talking about that little space where we can stop being a product of our past and actually become the creator of our future. I mean, just listen to this. The old masters, they really got this. And this isn't just some beautiful poetry. It's basically a user manual for your mind. That tiny moment of stillness, between the thing that happens to you and how you respond, that's where your real power is. It's the space where we can actually stand between cause and effect and decide which way we want to go. Okay, so before we can find the escape route, we got to understand the prison we're in, right? So first, let's explore that feeling we all know so well, that feeling of being trapped, just locked in this endless cycle of our own emotional reflexes. Now, that's supposed to be a fundamental truth about us, about our potential. But let's be real for a second. Our daily lives often feel like the complete opposite, don't they? That annoying email lands in your inbox and bam, your heart starts racing. Someone cuts you off in traffic and instant rage. It feels like we're a total slave to whatever the world throws at us. So that brings us to the big question, right? Why is there this huge gap between the freedom we're told we have and this reactive prison we actually seem to live in most of the time? Well, the answer and the key to getting out is actually a lot simpler than you might think. All right, enough about the problem. Let's get practical. Let's talk about the tool, this simple method that can guide us right out of that prison of reaction and into a place of real conscious freedom. Think of this as your escape plan. And the key to this whole escape plan, it's called the STAR method. It's really just a modern, easy-to-remember name for a super ancient practice, a way of pausing with purpose. STAR is an acronym. It stands for stop, think, analyze, and react. And it's what turns that unconscious reflex into conscious awareness. And that awareness, well, that's freedom. So let's break this down. First up, S is for stop. Simple, right? When that emotion starts to rise up, your very first act of courage is just to be still. Take one deep, deliberate breath. And look, this isn't about freezing up. It's about stabilizing yourself. Next, T for think. This is where you step back and get some perspective. You start asking yourself some better questions. Then we have A for analyze. You actually look at your choices. Which one of these options is my future self going to thank me for? And finally, R for react. But see, this isn't the old reaction. Now you're acting with intention. Your action is coming from a place of awareness, not just that raw, knee-jerk impulse. And that think step, this quote just nails it. Imagine your awareness lifting up out of your body, like a hawk soaring above the valley of your emotions. That's the bird's eye view. And honestly, it changes everything. Because from up there, you don't just see your own anger. You start to see where it's coming from. Maybe you're just tired or scared. You see the other person not as your enemy, but as someone who's also just part of this messy human story. And that perspective, it just dissolves pride and makes room for something way better, like compassion. Okay, but look, this isn't just some nice, philosophical, feel-good idea. This is grounded in hard science. We're talking verifiable neuroscience. That simple act of pausing, it has a profound and measurable effect on your actual brain. So, researchers using brain imaging can literally see what's happening. When you take a single conscious breath, it interrupts what scientists call the default mode network. Just think of that as your brain's autopilot for worrying. The part that's always replaying old hurts and planning for future battles. That one single breath hits the pause button on that loop. It gives you a moment of quiet, and it allows the commander, your conscious awareness, to get back in charge. And what's so wild is that this isn't new. This quote from the Buddha, it just shows how ancient wisdom was tapping into the very same idea thousands of years ago. Your body is always giving you these little alarms, right? A tight jaw, a racing heart. The Buddha called this the early thunder. The pause is what lets you hear that thunder so you can act before the lightning of a full-blown destructive reaction actually strikes. So it's not a small thing. This one simple act sets off this whole cascade of positive changes in your brain. That one breath re-engages your prefrontal cortex. That's the part responsible for reason and empathy. It quiets down the amygdala, your primitive fight-or-flight alarm system. And get this, over time, it literally strengthens the physical wiring between your emotional brain and your rational brain. You are physically rewiring yourself to be wiser. Okay, so now let's zoom out, because this change, it doesn't just stay locked up inside your skull. We're about to explore how your inner state, your choice to just pause, sends these massive ripples out into the entire world. This is the whole game, right here. Shifting from reaction to navigation. When you just react, you're nothing more than an echo of your past. Your old programming is running the show. But when you learn to navigate, well, now you're steering the boat. You stop just drifting along in whatever current life throws at you, and you start acting with conscious design. And that sends a completely new signal out into the world. And this leads to a pretty mind-bending idea from the sources we're looking at, that your nervous system isn't some closed-off circuit. It's more like a thread in a cosmic loom. The idea is that we are all part of this huge, living, interconnected web, a sort of planetary mind. And in that model, your nervous system isn't just for you, it's a transmitter and a receiver in this massive global field. Every single thought, every feeling sends ripples through the whole thing. And believe it or not, this might be more than just a beautiful metaphor. There was this fascinating project out of Princeton, the Global Consciousness Project. They had these random number generators placed all over the world, and they found that during big moments of shared global emotion, a major tragedy or a mass meditation, the machines would suddenly become less random. The takeaway? It seems like our collective consciousness can have a real, measurable physical effect on the world. Okay, let's bring all this home. What does it all mean? It means that by mastering this one simple act, the pause, you are fundamentally changing your relationship with reality itself. You're transforming yourself from being just a product of your past into a conscious creator of your future. Almost 100 years ago, quantum physics uncovered this absolutely shocking truth about how the universe works. It's called the observer effect. And it says that the simple act of observing a subatomic particle actually changes its behavior. Think about that. Reality, at its most fundamental level, responds to awareness. What is watched changes. And once again, we see ancient wisdom saying the exact same thing as modern physics. With our thoughts, we make the world. This isn't just about tiny particles in a lab. The Buddha taught that this exact same principle applies to our own minds. When you simply observe an emotion without judging it, it loses its power to control you. The observation itself sets you free. So what this is all building to is a pretty stunning conclusion. Every single moment of your life is an infinite field of possibilities. And according to physicist Henry Stapp, our consciousness is the force that reaches into that field, selects one of those possibilities, and makes it real. So every mindful action you take, it's not just a behavior, it's an act of creation. It's a choice that collapses all that potential into one actual reality. And that leaves us with this incredibly empowering final thought. When you act with awareness, you're literally choosing which version of the universe is going to unfold next. That space you create with a single pause, it's not empty. It's the birthplace of worlds. Your personal awareness is an act of cosmic creation. So the real question isn't if you're creating your world. The question is, which world will you choose?